Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley, and today I'm joined with Vince. I don't know if it is it Vincent.
Most people, it's Vince.
Vince Dovey.
My mum is Vincent.
Yeah.
It's Dovey.
Dovey. Oh, I see. Right. Yeah. I've gone for a Whitley thing. People do that. It's Alex Whitley. I'm like, it's Whiteley.
In the end, you give up correcting her.
You do, yeah. But for a podcast, we're going to get this right. Vince Dovey. And you've been on the show before.
Yeah. About a year or a bit ago.
Yeah, but I'm glad we've been able to redo this because it was full of like technical Zoom stuff that happens, and it's nice to actually finally meet you in person. I'm finding this now that I'm speaking to people for the first time in person, even though we've worked together in the past. It's an odd world we're living in right now.
Yeah, we might be getting back to some sort of normality.
Well, I hope so. From the 19th. I mean, I know cases are rising with COVID, but I don't know how that works with like the mortality rate because of the vaccine. I don't know what's happening there. So
I don't think you're alone in that, to be fair.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are pondering what's going on there because it is concerning when they're like, oh yeah, don't worry about this deadly virus that's going on. You guys crack on with your lives.
Go out. What was he was saying the other day? It's it's all, we'll rely on the sense and sensibilities of the great British public. And then you see the football.
Yeah, they trashed London.
Trashed Leicester Square. And so, fingers crossed, we'll rely on the sense of the great British public.
I think it's a case of being sensible now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Social distancing, I don't think is a problem anyway. I quite like not having some guy like, pressed up against me in a queue for Primark or something like that. I prefer to have a bit of space when I'm kind of shopping and,
I think there's going to be a lot of people who are perhaps reluctant to go back to standing 5 deep at a bar.
Yeah.
Waiting for a drink, having people, as you said, cheek to jowl. With maybe not the way to go.
I remember when this first happened, when it first started, and they first started letting people in the shops, but they just first put the dots on the floor to sort of. And I was in a one stop in Telford, and I was waiting at the queue, and some guy stood right behind me, and I remember this is the first time I'd ever looked at someone and say, "Oh, if you move, like, go on, move out the way."
Go on, jog on.
I felt like a bit of a snooty madam, like doing all that sort of stuff. But it's right, isn't it? You got to follow the rules. And there's a lot of people that are reluctant to give up their masks as well, and they're saying, "No, you can wear your masks if you like." But my understanding of the science is masks only work if everyone wears a mask, right? So you can wear a mask as much as you want, but it's not going to work. I don't know. I'm trying to be positive with it, but it's just a scary situation we're in.
I think if you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask.
Psychologically, I think so.
If you don't want to wear a mask, then don't wear a mask. But just because you don't want to wear one doesn't mean you should be able to tell other people that they can't.
Yes.
Well, it's like a lot of things in life. Not everyone, but a lot of very vocal people seem to think that, I've made a decision about what I'm going to do and everyone else has got to follow it.
Exactly, yeah. Actually, that's the world we live in right now.
Yeah. If you want to go that way, as long as you're not harming anybody, and if I want to wear a mask, it doesn't affect anybody else.
Yeah. See that Alex Whiteley guy? He was recording a podcast without a mask.
Burn him at the stake.
That's one promise I'll make, is that if you are wearing a mask, if you're not wearing a mask, I'm not going to shame you. Do what you want. Do what's comfortable for you. But anyway, Shropshire ITC, like when we were talking to you last time, you were developing apps for pubs just before, just to make things easier for people. How did that go?
It went really well. It was always designed as a bit of a stopgap until the government caught themselves up and actually put out something that worked and that people could use.
The app came out, but you were like,
well, no, to be fair, because we built it, we gave it away free of charge. It was never a money-making thing. It started off with my local, the Woody, and they were worried about, hang on, I've got to take people's name on a piece of paper and leave that piece of paper about, then I've got a data protection and all this kind of stuff. So I had a chat with them, we built something that was simple to use. We rolled it out to, I think, 100 and something establishments in the end, not just pubs, but cafes, churches. And then over the course of a couple of weeks after that, well, maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks after that, the government started getting their act together a bit,
Yes.
And people quite understandably turned around and said, well, I can have this free app, or I can have the one that's linked into the NHS and the government and all that kind of stuff. I had a few people turn around and say, I'm really sorry, but do you mind if I... No, it was always designed as a stopgap. Yeah. And if it helped you kind of get back on your feet...
It was a very innovative idea, and it was before the COVID app was rolled out. So I feel like, if anything, you're kind of like, you're ahead of the game. You know, you kind of prove that.
Oh yeah, that's me ahead of the game. But it was one of, I mean, at the time, it was one of many things that people were doing, because there was a lovely. God, it seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? But there was that lovely coming together where people were, you know, knocking on your next door neighbour's door and saying, do you need some milk, or going shopping for other people, and all those lovely things.
There's some great like Facebook groups and stuff developed for helping people. You know, I think it was it Jamie Russell started the one for. He did one for, was it Copthorne? I don't know. There was some, and there was a group that I'm part of called Shrewsbury People Helping One Another. Simple, and it's people like, and now because obviously everything's open, there's this group of people, and they just share memes and they share jokes and they do quizzes and they just keep each other company on Facebook. It's nice to see that people coming together. And then there was that nice summer, wasn't there, where everything sort of opened again. You walked through town and you felt like you were walking through Bruges or somewhere in Europe. Yep. It was just like, you know, canopies everywhere for cafes and stuff. That was a beautiful summer. That was, because
I think that there's a, with the caveat, it's been bloody awful. Yeah, it's been. You've had many deaths. You had many people who were affected by long COVID. You've had businesses go to the wall. You've had. Toilet roll gate. Yeah. You've had mental health issues, with the caveat that it's been absolutely horrible. If there's a positive, hopefully we can just still maintain a little bit of that, knowing even if it's just knowing everyone on your street, and just nodding and, you know, you're right, and keeping an eye out on people, and, you know, allowing people to, what's that thing? It's okay not to be okay. Yeah. Just allowing blokes to be able to turn around and say, do you know what, I'm struggling a bit. Mm-hmm. So, you know, fingers crossed.
Very important. Very close to my heart as well. And, you know, I'm always very honest about my mental health and situations that's going on. And I'm happy by saying I had a bit of a wobble yesterday. My anxiety peaked. I was just talking to you about it now before we hit record, about Pod Aid and how everything became real, very real. On the first day that we were allowed to like share the graphics and stuff, I was like, oh my god, this thing's happening. What's going to be? What if it's going to be a failure? What if I do this? I panicked and created a Facebook page, which I wasn't supposed to, because Reach were like, I thought we were going to make the Facebook page for you as a thing, and I kind of had this bit of a meltdown. But luckily, I got the Biscuiteers and I got the USUC guys. They're all just kind of like, what do you need? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I need. I just need something, you know.
Sometimes you just need to be able to go, have someone sit there and either calm you down, take some weight off you, or just sit you down and just go, shh, chill.
I mean, look how relaxed Paulie was in Rocky. Was it Rocky 4? Happy birthday, Paulie. Was it Rocky 4 or Rocky 3? They had that robot, you know. Look, Paulie and Rocky was always like this angry person until Rocky got him that robot. You know, I need that robot from Rocky.
I think we all need a Rocky robot, don't we?
Yeah, happy birthday, Paulie. Right, okay. So what I'm going to do is I want to venture back, because the podcast we recorded last time was plagued with internet issues and stuff. But we got the freedom of just recording locally here today. So let's go back, Vince, and let's talk about you. Where do you hail from? Where do you begin as a human being?
South East London.
No way, really?
Yeah. You can't tell, can you? I think I sound like the Queen, but no one else does. South East London. Perfectly normal, happy South East London upbringing.
Bit of a geezer, or
no. Very quiet, very well behaved, very decent young man. And then, 29 years ago, something like that, moved up here. Moved up here with a lady, didn't work it out, was too stubborn to go back down south. Didn't want to go back with a tail between my legs.
Yeah.
And kind of liked it up here.
See, I mean, I was speaking to Jamie Russell, author, a couple of episodes ago, and he's a Londoner as well, moved up here, and he was saying, he mentioned something quite nice. I thought was really, really poignant. He said he was on the train, and all of a sudden, all the buildings disappeared, and it was all fields and sheep, and he was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And he had that panic moment of, oh my God, I'm moving to the sticks, what's going on? But I think when you get to Shropshire or Shrewsbury or wherever you are in Shropshire, and you see that place where you've landed, you're kind of like, oh, okay. This is not too bad, actually.
For me, it was almost the other way around. I moved up here, and then I said quite quickly it didn't work out. So I got my own place. Didn't know anybody, not a soul up here. So I started going into pubs like the Yorkshire House. Just sort of sitting on the periphery of groups, and slowly but surely you start conversations. And Shrewsbury was a very different place then. You know, a curry house was quite a racy and new establishment. Pubs were pubs that ended at 11, and apart from somewhere like the Fridge, as a club, there was nowhere for anybody who liked a bit of rock music or something a bit indie to go.
I mean, like I'd love places like that. I mean, I grew up in Wrexham, like where there was bar, club bar. It was it's a proper drink in town. And then I moved to Telford, and it felt like Emmerdale almost. Like every town had its pub. You know what I mean? Like local. And that was 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So,
but what I found weird was, you say about James coming up on the train and it becoming more and more rural. For me, it was the other way around, and I can remember it quite clearly. I've been up here about a year, and as my train pulled into Euston, I felt shoulders tighten a bit. I felt my pace quicken.
Head down.
Yeah, head down. Don't look at people, because that's London Underground. You don't look at people, and just zipping in and out of people as I'm walking along, and for no reason, I had nowhere to go. Yeah, but I was hurrying to nowhere.
That's definitely a London native thing.
Yeah.
It's got to be like inbuilt into you, because when I go to London, I'm like, oh my God, look at this! Oh my God, look at this! And I'm just like, I'm head up, I'm like, hello sir, how are you?
I say, I'm in London. It's absolutely spiffing to be here.
Absolutely fantastic.
But on the journey back, I got to Shrewsbury and actually felt I'm home. And it was the first time I'd kind of said it to myself, I'm home. Not I'm in Shrewsbury, I'm home. And then sort of got jobs, did a few bits and bobs, got to know people, made some good friends. And then my little sister came up to visit, and not long after moved up here. And my older sister came up to visit, and not long moved up here. My parents decided to sell the house down in London and moved to Dolgethley. Wow. And then my brother left St Lucia. He's married a St Lucian girl, got a couple of kids, and he brought them over here, and they live in Shrewsbury.
Crazy.
So I've moved to escape, and they followed me. I've now got the entire family back up here.
Bungee cord attached to you somewhere.
Do you know what the problem was? I took them around to some nice pubs.
Yeah.
And nice restaurants when I moved up. I should have taken them to some dumps and just said, right, that's what it's like. Don't bother. But no, it's nice. It's.
I gotta say, I'm very happy with the place, and it's been a huge place of opportunity. I mean, like Shrewsbury oozes with opportunity when it comes to starting your own company, starting your own business, things like this. I mean, how long has Shropshire ITC been going as a company?
It's been going 11 years.
Wow. Okay.
But you're right. It's, as a town, it's small enough so you can know people. People, by and large, want to help each other. They offer advice, they offer support. They like to buy local if they can.
Yeah.
And it's just a bloody nice place to live.
Yeah.
And if you walk, I mean, I cycle into work some days and cycle along the Berwick Road. Lovely. You know, you're cycling through the countryside. You can go for a walk through the park, through the quiet. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. And going back to what I was saying about going from Wrexham to Telford and then here, you say places where people can sit and listen to rock music and stuff like that. Where are good places for that in Shrewsbury? Because I would like to find a good rock pub. I know you mentioned the Yorkshire House. Is there places for people to go in and listen to like things like Arctic Monkeys, Iron Maiden, all that sort of stuff, rather than your regular?
I mean, firstly, it has to be said I'm extremely old. So my finger's about as far from the pulse as you can get it. Yeah. I mean, you got places like Albert Shed that put on some good music.
Yeah.
The Yorkshire House put on some bands. The Bull in Butcher Row, I think, still do
they do
live
open
music.
mic and stuff.
The Wheat Chiefs, but it doesn't seem to be, unless I'm mistaken, I'm sure someone will point out, like a rock night, a rock club. There's bars.
There's an opportunity there, isn't there?
Well, to be fair, one of these during lockdowns where you sit there with your mates and go, what do you miss? I really want to go to. And just being able to go into a, metaphorically speaking, a squidgy, damp floored, humid club where...
You can smell the damp, you can smell the sweat, but you can hear good music.
As you walk up the stairs, it starts, and you go, turn a corner, through a door, and there's some like-minded souls listening to some good music.
That's why I love, it sounds very cliche because people are like, oh yeah, typical tourist, but the Cavern for me in Liverpool is one of the most magical places I've ever been to. You go down some stairs, black walls, lots of pictures and stuff, and you go down and it's just this basement, arches, great music, the bricks are all signed. That's where the Beatles came from.
As you walk around the Cavern, looking at the... you've got all the Beatles memorabilia, but you've also got the other bands that have played there, and weirdly a load of Brazilian football shirts on the wall, but loads of other bands playing there, and looking at the lineup they'd have had, May the 6th, 1965, and you'd have the Beatles and the Who, and so it's anything to get them lot on one night.
Can you imagine? Yeah, amazing place. I remember when we went to Colombia the first time. My wife is from Colombia, so the first time I went to Colombia, we went to this bar called San Sebastian, and the host, the guy on stage, he looked a bit like Albert Einstein. He's a very eccentric, loud guy. Somebody pointed, he was doing the whole thing there, where are people from, and he found out I was from England, and he was Beatles crazy. I was like, you're from England? And I was like, yes, I'm from England. He's like, you'll sing Beatles with me later. And I was like, no. So weird.
Sorry, you've mistaken me. I'm very English.
Just because I'm English doesn't mean you don't want that. I'll scare people off. Okay, so 11 years ago, that's a really weird tangent, but hey ho. Shropshire ITC, 11 years ago. How was it starting this as a company? Was it straight out the gates, or did it take a bit of time to build?
The guys I work with have been in the IT industry for quite a while. I haven't. I'm an accountant by trade. But we got together, we did this. It picked up quite nicely. We do a lot of support work. We have we install systems. We help people move. We do cabling, all sorts of IT related stuff. And we've been very lucky that A, we've made a living out of it, and B, we've got some great customers who have grown with us. And during the last 18 months, we've helped them, they've helped us. We've had a few that have had issues. We've hopefully worked with them and helped them out, and a few that have, their loyalty to us has been very much appreciated. It's a nice little business, and I don't mean that in a pejorative term. It's a nice little business that we know our customers. We're not too big that someone phones in and I don't deal with that. That's not my job. That's someone else's job. Everyone picks up the phone. Everyone answers the phone. Everyone knows our customers, and it's what I've wanted a business to be. So when I was working for other people, I've always wanted to work. I've always wanted a business that I've always thought that a business should be. Whoever answers the phone.
Hello, Mr. Jones.
Yeah,
hello.
But can to a great or lesser degree can help.
Yeah.
Can seem engaged. Can work with the client. Can reassure the client that they're actually being dealt with rather than a number
Yes.
in a queue.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we spent the last 3 or 4 years building apps and programs for other people.
Okay.
And we're not shying away from that, but I've set up a new business called Ska-Train, and that's the one that's developed the app we've just launched, Safe Step, and we've got 3 or 4 others in the mix. And the idea with Ska-Train was it's separate from Shropshire ITC. It's a standalone business, but it's going to be a dev house. It's just going to be there because I've got, as you can see, if you look around this, there's stuff all over the walls of ideas. There's whiteboards all over the place with ideas on them. I've got a load of ideas that I want to convert into apps. Some which hopefully will make some money. Others are not about the money. They're about hopefully doing good things.
Yes.
Hopefully, the accountant part of me says get one to pay for the other.
Yes.
Because it's still a business. But it's a new venture that hopefully will run alongside and complement Shropshire ITC.
Apps are a funny thing that have evolved over the years. I mean, I remember when you had your first iPad and your first apps and things that were being released, and it was very much like, I've got this cool app, and then it kind of developed into this never-ending web of apps that copy other apps, and apps that may be dangerous, apps that may be safe, apps that look like the app you're looking for that aren't. These things, and there's 3 or 4 different variations on the same app. And how do you stand out from all that as an app?
There's a couple of things. I mean, I've got. If I can talk about Safe Step, for example, because that's live.
We will. Yeah.
But that as an app started off with a need. And the need was utterly personal. My lad was just starting secondary school, and he wanted to cycle to school. It's about 3-4 miles. He wanted to cycle to school with his mates, and his mother was a little nervous about that.
Yeah.
His previous school was 200 metres down the road, and this was 3.5 miles away.
Yeah.
So I said, right, okay, if I could get him something where he could set off, press a button, 12 years old, not really interested in it, he could press a button when he arrives, and if he doesn't arrive, it alerts us. How would that be? That would work, she said. That would work for her, it would give her comfort. So we built something, and then it became very clear that, speaking to other parents, that they liked the idea of it. But little Johnny and little Susie hated the idea of a tracking device, which is what most other things on the market are. Mum and Dad can track you 24/7, and they didn't want that. And when I spoke to parents of older children, well, I say young adults, the reaction was, you can get stuffed if you think, I'm going to use something where Mum knows where I am at 11:30 at night on a Friday night. Ain't going to happen. So to differentiate ourselves, we made it not a tracker. We listened to, although it might be the parents who are buying it, and we are using it to placate, very often young people are using it to placate the parents. Actually, we've listened to the kids as well, or the young people, because they're the ones who are actually going to have to use the app. So then from that, we then went out, did a load of market research, saw what else was out there. There's a lot of complicated stuff out there, a lot of app to app, where, to use it, you'd have to have the app and I'd have to have the app.
Yeah.
Or very complicated, lots of information. This is, once I designed it for my lad to use, the next iteration was, right, I want to get women travelling alone, young people travelling alone. I've got to make it so simple that if they've come out of the pub, that they can use it. So it can't be
brilliant.
Massive logins, massive number of screens, this, that and the other. You actually press a button to open the app. You've either got a series of locations you've already put in there: home, boyfriend, girlfriend, partners, digs, parents, work, whatever it may be. Press it, it comes up with a screen that tells you how long it estimates you'll be walking for. and you say, right, yes, start, and that's it. Stick it back in your pocket. When you get to a location, press stop to say I've got there. If you don't press stop and the timer gets down to 0, it beeps and vibrates in your pocket to remind you. If you still haven't done anything then, after 5 minutes, it sends a text to a contact, and that contact can be different contact per location.
Okay.
So you can have your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your mum or your dad, or if you're at uni and you live in, let's say you normally live in, I don't know, Lincoln, and you're in Shrewsbury uni, no point having your parents as your next of kin on it. You might as well have your roomie. And if it gets down to minus 5 minutes, they get a text and they can see exactly where you are. That's the only time it starts tracking.
Okay, that's very, very good.
And we like it. It's simple to use. Young people like it. Parents like it. I tell you who does like it, the old Bill. The police absolutely love the amount of time they waste with someone saying, oh, John's walked off. We don't know where he's gone, or I
can confirm this, guys. I can definitely confirm this.
And if they can sit there and go, right, we know exactly where John now is, and then go and pick him up. And the other thing is, on the rare occasions, and I are rare occasions, that something goes wrong in a journey, sometimes people don't find out till the next morning that someone hasn't arrived home. This way you'd be alerted immediately, or within 5 minutes, and then you can hopefully go and find them and administer support. So in a long roundabout way, we didn't go out looking for what has mass market appeal. We found something that was what I wanted to achieve, then listen to the people who might
See,
be
what
using
you've done is you've used your instincts as a parent to develop an idea, and that's very interesting. That's really interesting because, like you said, you haven't looked for a gap in the market. You've gone, why is there nothing like this that exists? You've basically, do you remember the one bell system? When I'd say to my mum, I'm going to my friends, I'll one bell you when I get there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So you ring it, and if she didn't hear it, then she'd obviously sort of start texting or whatever. But you've turned that idea into something that probably a lot of young women probably need.
Well, it's been 2 weeks. It's been launched a week and a half. And we've started speaking to universities, started speaking to councils and care providers. Because to us, students, especially if they're going to a new location, councils, because they send people out to loan visits, adult social services, child social services, probation services, and care homes. And what we found with care homes is you might have someone who's got, say, early onset Alzheimer's.
Sort of forget where they're at and get confused.
But they should still be able to go out.
Yeah, of course.
And go out and, walk into town, go shopping, meet friends, etc., etc. And with this, you could just stick a 2-3 hour round trip on their phone. It's not going to track them. If they come back in that time, bingo.
Yeah.
But if they don't, you can, instead of sending 3 members of staff off to scour the town of Shrewsbury looking for someone, they can immediately say that, oh, actually, they're sitting in a cafe in a market hall or in the library or in Waterstones or having a pint somewhere. It's
just send someone around to be like, are you okay, Derek? Are you all right?
Well, that's exactly it. It's trying to extend the amount of time that people can go out and have some independence, but a little bit like, what's the best analogy? It's like when you're teaching your kid to ride a bike and you've got your hand on their saddle for ages. So just take the hand off, let them cycle a bit, but you're still behind them.
Yeah.
So if they wobble, you can still catch them.
You can log it as well. As somebody's got mental health issues, Alzheimer's, anything that's going on, and if things get progressively worse, so you've got you start a line graph or something. So you've got, I don't know, in the month there have been 3 blips, then there's 4 blips, and so you can see that things are progressively getting worse and harder for someone to manage outside independently.
But also you could turn around to the care providers and guardians and family can sit there and say, well, okay, we may soon be reaching a stage where we're less able to let that person
that's what I mean. Yeah,
go out. So there is a social good. There is a benefit to it, but that and a couple of the others that we're designing, they're not. We haven't set out to go right. We're going to conquer the world.
No.
A billion downloads and yachts all round. It's more a case of why isn't there one like that?
Yes.
Why aren't we doing it? And I think that's you're less likely to be susceptible to the vagaries of the market. If I try and come up with the next Spotify, well, firstly, I've got to go over the fact that there's already a Spotify, and their budget's quite big.
You can give me a slice of that budget, Spotify, please.
I'll have me a bit of that. But you're then trying to compete on a really unlevel playing field. This way, I'm just standing around saying, right, this is what I've done, and so far, touch wood, the feedback's been positive.
That was going to be my next question. What's the feedback been like from the users?
Well, the feedback from users has been it's simple, it's intuitive. When we did product testing with university students, parents, student welfare teams loved it because it's another wraparound they can offer their student bodies, and student welfare is really important. At the moment, very often student welfare can be a deciding factor for people when they're picking a uni.
Of course.
Parents loved it because it's another safety net for little Johnny or Susie or Pete or Tobias or whatever when they're going to uni for the first time. The parents know that they've got
especially during Freshers Week, you know.
Well, it's Freshers Week during winter months, during all this kind of stuff, and then. Students liked it, and I'll be 100% honest with you now. Students liked it for a couple of reasons. One, because they saw the benefit of it.
Yes.
Their own personal safety and well-being. They saw the benefit of that. But also, it got parents off their back. Yeah. Yes, I've got the app. Yes, I will use the app. Yes, of course I will. Can you just let me get on with living my student life? And that was those two bits of feedback from students actually really pleased me. One, that they'll use it, but two, that they're understanding that it's not just for them, it's to calm mum and dad. It's the one ring that you were going on about earlier.
Is it? Is there a way that this app can be used sort of negatively? I don't know, if it's controlling partners. You go to the shop, and you tag that you're there, and you get back with it. Do you know what I mean? Is it
because it's not a tracker?
Yeah.
And because I am in control of my journey, I can cancel my journey at any time. I can say I've arrived at any time. So if I get a better offer, I can cancel my journey. If I arrive, I can do it. I can extend the time. I can not. But until I have failed to cancel the journey or failed to arrive and the time has gone down to -5, until that point no one knows where I am.
Okay.
Also, I pick who my next of kin is or my contact is. So because you can pick the contact from your phone, if you don't, for the myriad of reasons that there might be, but if you don't want your partner to be your next of kin, it takes 2 seconds to change it. You can go into a location and go edit, change next of kin. Right, I'll go from a phone book and I'll have Dave as my next of kin for this one, or I'll have Susie or whomever. So can you stop anything happening ever? No. And anybody who says you can is lying to you.
Well, you take things that are positive, created to sort of spread positivity. TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, all these sort of things, and somebody will always I'm sorry to throw a difficult question at you, but we've got to discuss it. You know, people will take something that's made for positivity and do something negative with it. That's always going to happen. But if you got like you said, you got your safety measures in place, so you can actually change things and have that independence if you need it.
You can change things if your journey is concluded with no incident, then the record of that journey is wiped.
Mm-hmm.
If the journey has an incident, then we keep that record for a period of time, solely in case a third-party agency needs it. But it's all held behind virtual barbed wire and minefields.
So it must be a GDPRS nightmare for you, though. Is that something that you concerned you a little bit?
It did, and we had to tick all manner of boxes and jump through God knows how many hoops to comply. But at the heart of it, there's only ever a record if something goes wrong.
Yes.
We don't have any superfluous data. I'm not interested where you went at 2:00 on Saturday morning. I'm only there to say if you haven't arrived, we can let someone that you decide know. They get a message. They can then get a map of where you are exactly.
Yes.
It's updated every minute. So if you're still wandering, it updates with where you are. If you're static, it tells you I'm static. As and when you cancel the journey, so you've sat down a little tired and emotional with a kebab, you've forgotten that you're meant to be home, you've ignored the vibration in your pocket, and then you go, oh, God, I'm going to be home. And you get up and walk and go, right, I've done the journey. Then your next of kin contact only sees that the journey is completed. They don't carry on tracking you beyond that. So we've tried as much as we can. The focus was make it simple.
Yes. Don't
track, and don't only ever keep the data that you really, really need to keep.
So
you right?
Realised my mic isn't on phantom power. That's right. I was like, I need that extra
phantom power.
Phantom power, yeah. It's just a bit of extra juice to make my mic is still working, but with phantom power, I wouldn't have to lean in so close. I could do this. It's right.
I want something called phantom power.
I need phantom power. That's my nickname for coffee. I need phantom power. I love this app. I think it's great. I work with young people, and I will talk to you off air because I feel like you can help me and where I work out. We're in a place now where we do have, this isn't a dig, but we do have a reduced police force at the moment. You don't have a Bobby walking neighbourhood, Bobby walking around, and if you do have an issue, police are likely turning up in 2 hours rather than half an hour. Do you know what I mean? So this app will actually, I'm not going to say it's going to change the world, but it's going to offer an extra, like that safety net, like you were talking about. That's what it's going to offer, and I think it's really exciting. And it's one of those things that like you said, it was like, why are we not doing this?
Yeah. But when I spoke to the police, once we got over the data issues and the concerns that they had about that, I spoke to people fairly high up, and then I've spoken to people who actually get boots on the ground, and they've said it's you say about the 2 hour response time. It's incredibly frustrating when someone's decided to walk home or wandered off to another pub or whatever. They get a report about someone who's vulnerable because they're drunk, and then they have to put a certain amount of resources around that.
Yes.
And those resources are important. Of course, it's someone who could be in danger, but there could be an assault going on the other end of town. There could be a burglary, a car incident, whatever. And there's only a certain number of coppers about. And if there's something that, let's say, I'm your next of kin and I get a text message, first thing I'm going to do is not phone the old bill. I'm going to look where you are, and I'm going to call you. Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to get out and I'm going to come and get you.
Yeah.
If I can't, for any reason, or I'm extremely worried, then I'll call the police. But it's just a couple of steps in the thing. Yeah. And then if I do call the police, I can tell them exactly where you are, and they can pull up Smithfield Road and find you sitting, hugging the slinky, quite, oblivious to everything. And that's a 5-minute job rather than a 2-hour job.
Yes, of course. It's that thing again. Are you okay, Derek? That's that icebreaker, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Where are you? Just getting a kebab. Okay, we'll be home in 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, that's fine as long as I know you're all right, as long as I know you've not... And it's not... The one thing I've said to a lot of people, yes, there's the Reclaim the Streets, which is vitally important, and people should feel more safe. And it doesn't get rid of the concerns that people may have.
Yes.
But it may help out.
Yeah.
And the one of the things we looked at when we were trying to work out what level to price this at, and I saw apps that were trackers, app-to-app apps, where people were charging like £8-9 a month. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, that's fine for me, but if I've got 3 kids, or if £8 or £9 a month is half a week shopping or something like that, why would people be disadvantaged?
Yeah.
So what we've tried to do is you can download it off the usual places, and it's £1.99 a month. But what we're talking to universities and councils about is them buying a license.
I could subsidise it.
Well, heavily. Well, no, not even subsidise it. We heavily reduce the price, and the university buys a license for all its students.
Yes.
And then all its students and staff, so they're all covered by it. So if someone is, because in the back of my head, I know what it was like. I didn't go to university, but I know what it was like with mates who did. Direct debits fail, subscriptions fail, chaotic lifestyles mean, and I would hate for someone not to have access to it because they were 95p overdrawn.
Yeah, and that's why it's really important to get involved with social services, especially when it comes to kids that are not attached to anybody. And they're not going to have the ability to pay for this. So social services, if they get involved and they have a license this, then they can give it to the children and
the children can download it and use the app for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it just means that a slightly perhaps chaotic lifestyle doesn't preclude you from having something that may help you.
Yes.
And I think that was one of the most important things. It's all well and good creating something, but if only nice middle class people can get hold of it or access it, then how's that equitable? How's that fair?
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah. That's really nice that you've thought about that, because a lot of people wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? But so I'm glad. This sounds amazing. I think it's really good. It's one of those ideas that's so simple that it's just missed the radars of everybody else. I mean, like I said, there's trackers and stuff out there, but this is different, isn't it? Because you've looked at the idea that teenagers aren't going to want to be tracked and stuff like that. And it's like it's an app that's not cool. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not TikTok or it's not. So it's a case of you have this, otherwise I'm going to be on a case every 2 seconds as to where you are and stuff, panicking. And
I think there's been an element of design when you design something, and it's easy enough to do, but when you design something, you get one idea in your head about who it's for.
Mm-hmm.
And tracking apps have traditionally been for parents to keep an eye on children, or partners to keep an eye on other partners.
Yes.
And there could be 100 different reasons why that's the case, but it just seems there hasn't been something which is the other way around, which is instead of coercing a child to use it, actually turn around and say, well, you can use it without mum and dad knowing where you are, without partner
making
knowing.
Sure you're safe.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's about protecting you. And I think that's maybe a gap that hopefully this fills. Fingers crossed.
Nice. And one idea usually stems to another. Since the release of this app and since you've made this, has it led on to other things that you can develop alongside this?
Well, it started off with kids, then it went to students, then it's gone to social services. We're just formulating a version where we're going to contact holiday companies. I've spoken to a couple of holiday companies so far.
What a brilliant idea.
You download it for 2 weeks while you're at a hotel or a caravan park or whatever. your 14-year-old who's glued to their iPad makes some mates. They all want to clear off for 3 hours to the beach or wherever, and just being out, instead of setting it as a location, setting it as an appointment or a journey or a time out. You can send them for 3 hours out, and they should be back in 3 hours. If they're not,
it's really good for even for families going out on excursions or drives. I mean, like whenever I go on holiday, I'm always like, "Oh, what's the excursions, love? Look at the excursions board." You know, we always look for.
There's that, again, it was. A friend of mine went on holiday, and their son was. What's the polite way of putting it? A pain. And a pain in a very specific area. And all he wanted to do was, there were a couple of lads who were a little bit older, a year or so older, and he wanted to go out and hang about with them and just walk down to the supermarket, along the promenade.
Don't know, hang around with my parents is not cool.
Yeah, it's not cool. And my mate was saying it almost ruined the first 4 or 5 days of the holiday because I'm on holiday and I'm having to say no to my son all the time, who's getting proper testy about it. He's not happy, I'm not happy, wife's not happy, and that sat there and thought, if you use this safe step or a version thereof, you could let him go, and you'd know exactly where he was on the promenade. And I think something like that, whether it's in the UK with caravan parks and holiday parks and whatever, or abroad, I think there's a market for that, so we're trying to build something on that. And then there's sports teams like fell walkers and the such like. So hopefully there's going to be quite a few
cyclists as well.
Yeah, cyclists. Basically anybody going out.
Yeah.
That if something happens, you've got the ability. It's early days, but. There's 3 or 4 areas where we're sitting there looking, going, well, that could work, and that could work.
It's just crazy how much a conversation about this idea leads on to other things. That's what I'm saying.
And it started off with my lad bemoaning the fact that he wasn't able to cycle.
It started off with cyclists, and we just come back to cyclists.
Yeah. So it's been weirdly, and sometimes keeping it simple has been the hardest thing. Because the temptation, and I've had loads of people turn around and with the best will in the world turn around and say, "Can you get to do this? Can you get to do that? Can you get? What about if it does this?" And say, "Ooh, hang on, yes it can, and yes we can, but I've kept in my mind the person coming out of the pub, pressing a button, pressing go, and that's it. That's all that's involved. And if I can keep it that simple, then it does its job. Yes, there are always additional things you can put on, but sometimes gilding the lily ain't what's needed."
If you guys can hear power tools in the background, we're next to a garage and they're doing work, so apologies, but hey, well done for this. I think it's great. I mean, you all seem to be looking to create tools to help people. I mean, the last time I spoke to you, you were trying to help pubs and churches and people keep people safe in there. And obviously, you got undercut by the government's NHS app, which I use today to go to House Coffee. It's one of those things that was all. I'm going to say it wasn't always going to happen, but it was on the forefront of everybody's mind, wasn't it? So how do we inventorize people coming in and out of places and make sure that people can order drinks safely and stuff? And there's lots of places that come up with that idea. But this one, I feel like, is just really unique, and just because of the simplicity of it. It's just one of those things that every parent thinks of. I'm a parent. I'm coming up with these new. I mean, so to be super personal, my lad who's a teenager threw a wobbler a few weeks ago, did the I'm leaving home sort of thing, stormed off, right? I found him with Snapchat because he had his location on. And that was just because I remember hearing about it and being outraged that thing existed, and remember that thing I was really worried about? Let's try and I found him. I found him with Snapchat. But if he had a thing that he would voluntarily use, and this is another thing as well, like, can you get it so that you can almost turn it on for the person you care for? Because in situations where someone storms out because they've got a mental health issue and they don't activate the app, is there a way you can override that?
Simple answer, yes.
Yeah.
My issue with that is for a very niche set of circumstances, if I allow anybody to turn on someone else's app, then I don't want my parents knowing where I am at 11:30 at night, or the
domestic violence,
perhaps slightly possessive
yeah,
partner.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying,
yeah,
and it can be done, but does that, for what is at the time I'd imagine an extremely stressful and worrying period of time, if I changed the app, it would change an awful lot of the focus of the app, and maybe it's a secondary version or a third version or a branch off, instead of being SafeStep being something else.
Yes.
Where you sit there and go, actually, is there a way of doing it? Yeah, there's all sorts of GDPR things. There's all sorts of issues about, in effect, I'm dealing with someone else's app.
I need to speak to you about apps. I feel like I'd love. Sorry to completely deviate. Just drove that off a cliff.
No, you're right.
I want a Shrewsbury Biscuit app where people can just download the app and listen to our podcast. I think that'd be great. That was my watch, by the way, telling me to exercise. I've done enough exercise this week, watch. Thank you very much. Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. I mean, it's one of those things we'd like to have, but you shouldn't really. You know, morally, you're doing it for the right reasons, but it could be used as a way to control someone. So yeah, I understand that. But you know, this is good for what it's designed for. You know, Lucy coming back from the pub and being able to get home safely.
Yeah,
you know,
and as a caring partner, of course you can use a taxi, you can walk home with your mates, you can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But if you got bopped on the head or you twisted your ankle or whatever, I can come and find you immediately, whether you're compass mentis.
If someone steals your phone, you'll be able to see where they are when they run off with it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like everything.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, so that's the first one that we've published. Mm-hmm. I will probably bore you about. I've got 2 more that are right at the beginning of their journey.
This is you kind of ahead of the game with me. This is what I'm saying. Right? You're ahead because that was going to be my next question. What else are you working on?
I've got to be careful because, as with anything, if you shout out too much beforehand, someone will nick it. But one of them is an app for people in wheelchairs.
Okay.
And the other one is trying to support predominantly local businesses, but you can go nationwide. Businesses drive loyalty and traffic to their establishments, whether online or face-to-face. Neither one of them. My hope is that SafeStep, I can sell licenses. The money that I hopefully get from that, I took a decision a little while ago. If I sell to a university, I'm going to give 2 local schools the app for nothing, because I think it's the right thing to do. But hopefully any money I make from SafeStep, I can use to fund developing other apps. Because I'll show you on the way out, I've got a very messy whiteboard out there with...
It's the language you understand, though. That's the most important thing.
But it's 5 or 6 different ideas that I'm hoping over the next 6-12 months I can start ticking those off and saying, right, okay, push them out. Some of them commercial, some of them just because I think it's a nice thing to do.
I think the fact that A lot of companies, rightly so, because a company and a business is a business, right? You've got to make that money. You've got to turn that profit over and stuff. So, but the fact that one of your main thoughts is, can I help someone? I think that's really important to your characteristic. Your character. So
Don't get me wrong. I've still got to put food on the table. I've still.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean.
But all that kind of stuff. But I think there's the ability to make enough money without constantly looking over the horizon. Well, him down the road, he's making a bit more than me, or him down the street, he's got. Do you know what? Half the challenge is, and this is possibly opening up more than I should, but half the challenge is coming up with an idea and seeing if I can get that idea out and marketed. If it makes money, great. If it does social good, great. But the scorecard for me sometimes is sitting there in the pub with a notepad and going, "Oh, that irritated me today," or "That's an annoyance," or "Someone said that." Make a note and see. And I've got a notepad here, and half the ideas in there were never going to go anywhere.
Last night we were doing a live show, and we were talking about churches or something, and I waved this huge book. And they were like, "Is that your Bible?" And I was like, "No, that's my notepad." It's literally my notepad. It's that big because I need something of that caliber. It's crazy. Ideas are really important. You need to be a constant. Even if you just write down 4 scribbles on a like I have done today, just write 4 lines. That might be really important stuff. It's always incredibly important to get those ideas and put them onto paper, because they might not be great today, but you might be able to look back at them and go, "Oh, do you remember when we had that idea? Let's do that." And have you found ideas like that you've just like discarded, put away, and then thought, "Oh, that was a really good idea. Why don't we just do that instead?"
Yeah, the one for people in wheelchairs is a great example of that. It was an idea that was had a couple of 2 years ago. Wasn't in a position to do anything with it. Stuck it over there, and then something happened about 6-7 months ago, and it was and a few of my friends are like this. I think presumptuously, I think you're the same. That people will say stuff to talk about their everyday lives, and you'll go, "Hang on, either I know someone, or I've had an idea about that, or have you thought about doing it this way instead of that way?" And then running with an idea,
or even if it's just an idea that failed, and then you think, let's try that. Like the virtual for an hour sort of example is the virtual market showcase. I had this amazing idea of doing a live show with businesses. It worked well for a little bit, but then the world opened and the people I was speaking to had to go back to work. So I was kind of like, "Oh my God, I can't do this." I'd have to do it during the evening when businesses are closed, and I don't have an evening where genuinely the only evening I have is Friday, and that's family time. Wednesday night I do the Wednesday night live with USOC, and Thursday I'm on the radio. Friday's family time. Saturday, what's the difference? And Sunday back in work. Literally, I'd have to get someone to do it on my behalf. But I like the idea of striking that book back up again, but midweek in the evening. Speaking to the business over with a glass of wine when they're relaxed, when they've had a busy day at work, and talk about their businesses and showcasing the great independent businesses across Shropshire. Like, I think that's...
Sorry, again, you might want to edit this bit out, but I've always thought that if you have a group of businesses talking about their businesses, then an awful lot of, with some people, there's a level of caginess about, is he a competitor? Does he know something? Can I speak freely? I did it once, many, many years ago, where there were 4 of us, and we sat there and we were encouraged to bring ideas that we'd had that we didn't know what to do with to the table, and you had 4 different disciplines. From memory, there was me, there was an accountant, there was a guy who was into SEO, and I can't remember what there was a woman there, and I think she did
SEO,
life coaching.
SEO is all I bloody hear about on the emails.
But what the idea was that firstly, no one nicks anybody else's idea.
Yeah.
But and I remember one of the guys had an idea for something, and within 30 minutes, that idea was completely torn apart and rebuilt as something entirely different, but much more viable. And he went on and did it. Yeah, and it didn't change the world. It didn't pay for a yacht or anything like that. But it was just he'd had this idea in his head, and 3 other people sitting around the table going, "Okay, well, I'm not being negative, but that may not work. But have you thought about that as a market and that as a market and that as a business owner, sometimes that's such a great help because you've got critical friends." Mm-hmm. Someone who can turn around and go, "Nah, that's not going to work." Not nastily, but
in a collaborative way.
Yeah. And it just draws out the fact that there are. I'm flicking my notepad here, and you've got a similar one where you sit there and go, there are all these ideas, and maybe they do need to be drawn out. Maybe they do need.
Yeah. I agree, and this is why we need a studio now again, because I don't want to do it in my bedroom anymore. I want to be able to be like, welcome to I want some good cameras and something that gives us a bit of credibility. If I do the virtual market showcase again, I want it to be the virtual market showcase. I want it to be something big and something people are going to want to come on and sort of bring in the viewers with some good visuals and great cameras. That's what I wanted to do, and I think that's what Shrewsbury deserves, really. We've got the longest row of independent shops in Europe, and this is a place, or is it in the UK or in Europe? I know, but the COP, it's something to be proud of. Let's illustrate that,
and there is no substitute. Zoom's been great. Zoom's been fantastic. I mean, I run a Beavers and whatever colony for.
My son's just joined Beavers. He loves it.
Whereabouts?
No, is it? No, it's. Oh gosh, I don't know. They just went canoeing the weekend to in Condover.
Oh yeah.
Where is he? I forgot. That sounds really bad, but yeah, he's.
But with them, we did Zoom meetings over the lockdown. And it was great, and it was something that kept everything going and kept kids engaged. But there's no substitute for getting face to face.
First Monkmore. That's right.
First Monkmore.
Yeah.
There's no substitute for getting face to face, and even this, the difference in this, ignore the technical issues we had last time, but doing it on Zoom versus sitting down, socially distanced, but sitting down with someone, markedly different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we struggled to get 40 minutes out last time because of those technical issues. And I feel like when there's a human element involved with meeting someone, even if it's someone new, I mean, I have many times taken these mics, set up somewhere and met these brand new people I've never met before. There's something really nice about that, I mean, we've done over an hour now already, and it's got flown by. It felt like 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
Because I talk and talk and talk.
No, but that's the thing. This is why I do what I do, because I think conversation is beautiful. I feel like once you get stuck into something you're passionate about and you talk about, the information that comes out is something that can maybe inspire someone, that can change the world. I've always said that it's stealing from, I'm paraphrasing from past quotes and stuff, but I think a good podcast can change the world. Look what happened with Elon Musk on Joe Rogan. And he sat there, smoked up a blunt and showed how relaxed and wacky he is, and that changed him forever. I
think you're right. There's conversation. It takes you down areas you haven't been down before. B, it's not a press release.
Yeah,
it's not someone sitting there going, 2 months ago I did this, 2 years ago I did that. It's finding out.
It's informal. It's very informal, and I do believe that radio and podcast can exist parallel to each other, and both can be successful. I don't think one attacks the other, because there was that a while ago where radio was very scared about podcasts and stuff, and the other way around. It's kind of like, but I feel like a podcast. It's a very in-depth at times. I mean, you can make 15-minute podcasts, you can make 4-hour-long podcasts, you whatever you want to do, but you're learning about someone, and it's not interrupted by the weather or the Kelly Clarkson or the news or anything like that. It's just sit down, hit record and listen. I've just made we started a new series on USUC called Yelling at Clouds with one of the smartest people I've ever met, and that's Eric Pfluger. And he's an artist, and it's all about art and learning about the different versions of art and what art means to the world and stuff. And it's one of those things you can sit on a beanbag, get comfortable, hit play, and just zone out. And then by the end of it, you will be smarter, a little bit smarter. And I think there's something beautiful about just zoning out and just absorbing those words. And I think like what we've just done now is people will be gardening, they'll be in the car, they'll be cycling, doing whatever they're doing, and they've heard about Safe Step, and now they know about it, and they haven't had to make much effort into listening to it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, very kind of you to say so. It's one of those things that podcasts work when, like good radio works, when you're not being hectored, you're not being lectured, you're not being. Yeah. Sometimes it's just listening to two people or four people or however many people discussing something.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, it doesn't have to be right or wrong. It doesn't have to be competitive. You don't have to score. I haven't won this podcast because I've belittled you or this, that, and the other. It's just two people chatting about things they want to chat about. And very often that can be far more informative than a Paxman style interview.
Well, look what happened last night. It was not a podcast, but it was, like I said, the art of conversation. I was panicking yesterday. I was kind of I've got all these things to do and only so much time to do it. We had a meeting and we discussed things, and my team were like, what do you want us to do? And we slowly talked about these things and the ideas and things that are going to make things easier for Pod Aid. And by the end of it, I felt so relaxed. I was kind of like, okay, I got this.
Not only have you got it, we can do it.
Yes.
I've got people who've got my back.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a huge comfort, because sometimes you can feel that you're entirely on your own, or and 99 times out of 100 you're not.
No,
you just got to. We talked about mental health earlier. Sometimes you just got to have the confidence to stick your hand up and go, actually,
struggling today.
Yeah.
And I did that yesterday.
If you think about it from a business point of view, if there was a weakness in your business, whatever the business is, you should address it.
Yeah.
And yet, sometimes the weakness is you, and then that's the only time you sit there and go, well, I can't address that. I can't show weakness, can't show fear or anything like that. Actually, no, bearing in mind that you're the face and voice of, if you have a wobble, as you put it, then that can affect what happens the next day with the project. With
it's instant guilt of you're supposed to be a leader, so lead, and that's what was driving me crazy yesterday. I was like,
sorry, I've heard that for so long.
Yeah.
No. A smart leader surrounds himself by people who can do at least as well as he can, or she can. Because you're not going to be good at everything.
No.
And the ones that aren't smart leaders are the ones that feel that, give it here, I'll do that. Give it here, I'll do it. No, you must do it this. Why hire someone or work with someone and ignore what they say?
Yeah.
If you're a smart leader, you listen. Now, sometimes you've got to give guidance. You've got to give. Well, I've heard what everyone says. We're going that way, but actually, other times, do you know what? That's a blooming good idea. That is. We'll go your way this time. We'll go this way. So I think it's not. There's a tendency to be quite macho about things and sit there and go, no, I'm in charge. It's my name above the door. I've got to make all the decisions. Actually, no.
I'm very grateful to have good people around me, and likewise, I'm there to pick up the slack as well if they need that help. And I didn't want, because I am very vocal on Facebook at times. I'm kind of like, having a nightmare today, sort of thing. But I don't want, and this is the thing, right? I am very capable. Not only am I capable of doing pod aid, I'm able to knock it out the park as well. But there's that anxiety thing inside me going, "You're going to fail, mate. You're going to fall flat on your face," and that's the anxiety that I kind of deal with. So having that reassurance of, dude, we got 2 months. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We got loads of time. Literally, how much can you get done in a day? Today, I am going to have had. I've sent about 3 or 4 emails discussing things that are very important. I've come to do a podcast. I'm going to go pick up a marquee from Andy McEwen. Thank you very much for borrowing me a marquee for next weekend. I'm going to go home, fill in the gaps for my radio show, and I'm going to do. This is all these things I've done in one day.
Yep.
So imagine what we can do in 2 months. So very thankful to my supporters. Thank you very much. Actually, Vince, I need to tell you about Pod Aid.
Please do. I'll be interested.
First, actually, no, I'm going to give you a chance to tell people about Shropshire ITC and what they have to do if they want to get in touch with you to develop an app. I'll let you do that first.
If you want us to work with you, I think at the moment we would go down the Ska-Train route because that's designed for app development. The website is ska-train.com. And if people wanted to have a look at the Safe Step, then it's SafeStep, all one word, -app.co.uk. There's contact forms on there. Drop me an email if you've got an idea. If you want to find out more about it, just give us a shout, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can.
Brilliant. Okay. How long does it take to make an app usually? I mean, obviously that's a stupid question because somebody could be like, I want all these intricate buttons and things, and what in general sort of. That was a very loaded question, wasn't it? Because
it's a lot simpler than it was. There's a lot more technology that you can use that makes it simple. Hardest part is nailing what you want it to do.
Yeah.
What you want it to look like, working out the functionality. Even a login page can have 15, 20 variations on it. If I do that, then this happens. If I do that, this happens. Blah, blah, blah. Actually, building an app ain't difficult. You can do that relatively quick, depending on what the app is, obviously, but you can do it relatively quickly. The biggest problem is people come in with an idea, say, right, I want it to be this, and then you start building it and they change their mind 2/3 of the way through. And a lot of people think, I just want to move, I don't want that button to do that anymore. I now want a completely new page that does that. Mm-hmm. And you have to go back and change a lot of code further down so with SafeStep, with a couple of the other apps that I've done, it's been more time spent on storyboarding it, making it look right. Is it simple to use? Can we navigate it quickly? That's taken probably 3 times as long as the actual building of the app.
Yeah.
And then the other thing you've got to do is send it out for testing. So you test it yourself, you test it internally, then you send it out to a group of people to test, and then you cross your fingers and you send it out to a larger group of people who you want to be. You want their feedback.
Then the phones start lighting up.
well, the emails start coming in, the comments start coming in, and to be fair, there are certain comments you expect. Why is that button like that? Why is that button like that? And there's others that just blow your socks off. There's some really nice comments that come back. I've used this. I think it will really help. I had an incident X number of months ago that this would have really helped on. And so, how long does it take to design an app? I don't know. How long you got?
I remember I use this app to fall asleep sometimes called Relax Rain. It's just rain. I play in the background. It's got a timer on it. Very simple. But I remember, I think it was that once while you're setting up your what sound you want and how long you want it for, they used to play this really loud advert. right? And he'd come on, while I'm doing this, and it woke my kid up who was in bed, right? He was in bed with us, he was a baby at the time. I know that's bad for some people, but yes, we used to co-sleep. Anyway, so I emailed them, I was like, don't you dare. Like, you woke up my kid, you're going to do that every night and use this app? And they decided to switch to silent ads instead because of my email.
So that's from a developer's point of view, sitting around in a meeting, you sit there and go, well, we'll lob an ad in there because ads will drive revenue, ads will drive this, that, and the other. It may not have occurred to them. Yeah. It may never have occurred to anybody at that meeting. Yeah. The moment they got your email, someone's gone, oh, damn it. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Right, we'll take that out. We'll make it silent. We'll do this, that, and the other. And that's the value of feedback. Some people are a bit scared of feedback. Some people don't like it. They see it all as a personal criticism. No.
I remember it was one of the reduced to clear episodes that we had. We started getting our first sort of negative reviews for the biscuit, right? And it was because reduced to clear biscuits, if you've ever listened to that, is a very different version of the show. It's with Alex Yousefi and Luke Allen and Shane Hinton, our Shane. He kind of heads that up, and it's a bit more relaxed and it's a bit silly sometimes, and do improv with like guests because Luke Allen's making this short film reduced to clear, and we're getting some of the actors that are taking part in there. So we've got Winter Folander, who's a very good comedian, and we're doing improv with him. We're doing silly things, and we got things like, I like the biscuit, but this was a very silly one for me. And I'm kind of like, well, what that does, it shows that we're doing something different on the biscuit. Mm-hmm. So Shane at first was mortified. He was like, I can't believe, right, I'm not doing this anymore. Well, he was kind of a bit destroyed. And I was like, no, dude, it just shows that you've just created, what you've done is you've created your own mood. And if people like it, they will listen to it. If they don't, then they've got a choice to just carry on listening to the normal biscuit. Negative feedback, I think, is just as important as positive.
It is, save for one thing, because there's negative constructive feedback, and there's people who just want to tear stuff down. And they're personal about it. They're saying this was a bit more silly than previous biscuits. All right, that's commentary. I accept that. You know, that's your opinion. That's great. You have the ability to not listen in the future if you don't listen to those type of shows. But social media being what it is, the vitriol, the people who aren't happy unless they're
it's everywhere at the moment. Literally, like, nobody can do right for doing right at the moment. Like, you do something and someone will always just they'll just pick at it. I see it so many times, especially on like, I can't name the newspaper. A local newspaper that puts a lot of controversial posts up sometimes, and sometimes they'll put something very positive up, and the commenters on there will just pick it to pieces. Whether it's an event that's happened, or something that's going on, or a court case, or something. Somebody will always find a way to turn it completely negative, and I hate that. I've had to stay away from so many comment threads because of it, especially after the football last week. It was kind of like I can't wade into this because it's not good for me. It's really not, because I see a lot of things that I wouldn't like to see, and I feel like I'm doing that to myself. Do you know what I
mean? I know exactly what you mean. There's a polarization where my side, call it left or right or whatever you want to do it, but my side must be right on everything, and I can't take a backward step. I can't admit a gap in my knowledge, or I was wrong about something. So this is the hill I'm going to die on, and I will escalate. Everything that's right wing is Nazi, is this, that, and the other, and it's just not. No. And everything from the right side of it, everything on the left isn't woke and un-British and all that. It's not. There are idiots on both sides, and there are good people on both sides. But it's such a rare thing now for someone to turn around and say, "Oh, I don't know," or "I didn't know that," or "Oh, thank you for that. You've maybe changed my opinion slightly."
I have. I've had my political views changed recently, and that's more a case of realizing that I always thought I was very left, but I'm not. I'm down the middle, very much down the middle. I'll take some ideals from the right and some ideals from the left. Yes, we should give people social housing, but they should probably get a job too, and we should probably do more to help them do that. Silly little things like that, where you can pick and take little things from each side, and you can't condemn someone because of one thing and then cry out that you're doing the wrong thing at the other side. You've got to be sent. It was nice speaking to Julian Dean, our mayor, because he's a green politician. He's very much down the. I love that. It was really funny. We're doing this interview, and I was kind of like, we were talking to him about being the mayor, and I kind of accidentally started talking about politics. I don't like talking about politics really, but I was speaking to a politician. I'd never spoken to a Green politician before, so I wanted to know what that was all about. So it's funny how that sort of happens, isn't it? But yeah, I feel like Safe Step is a very, very important app, and I really do wish you success with it.
Very kind
and
of you,
I will speak to you after we've hit record to see if I can find some business for you, because I feel like what I do might help with your app. Yeah.
You were going to tell me about Pod Aid.
Yes, we were going to do that, absolutely. On the 9 a.m. on the 29th of September, we're going to go live, and we're not going to stop until 9 a.m. on the 30th of September. That's a full live 24-hour podcast that we're going to be doing. The 30th of September is actually International Podcast Day, and Dave Lee from LA, who runs International Podcast Day, is going to be part of what we're doing. He's very impressed with what we're doing, and we're doing this to raise money for Lincoln Davis. I'm not into doing these things to make money for me. That's not the Whiteley method. I do these things to help people. We have a venue thanks to Shrewsbury Town community. They're letting us use Reach Community Hub. We have our sponsors who are designing all of our logos, artwork, and helping us run our social media in Reach. They're fantastic for that. Thank you very much, guys. And we have our website thanks to Web Orchard. All these people coming together to help a good cause. The reason I'm doing this is to show people that if you've got a podcast, if you've got a game streaming, or if you've got a business that has a community around you, use what you've got to help your local area. We are going to expand this next year, and I'm going to challenge people next year to do better than what we've done. If you're in LA, if you're in France, if you're up in Scotland, if you're also in Shrewsbury, challenge me to see if we can have a competition, see who does better. Because what happens? What happens if I lose? Everybody's community is better off, aren't they? So that's why we're doing Pod Aid. And we're very, very excited. We have a great lineup already. We've got like 2 or 3 spots left to fill up with our schedule. But what we are after at the moment is sponsors. We are going to be selling hour-long sponsors for a minimum £100 donation, which at first I was kind of like, this is a lot of money, but apparently that's peanuts to a lot of businesses and stuff. So, and you get it back anyway in tax. So I don't know what I'm talking about. But £100 donation, that's not much at all. We are building a donor. donor system where you can text to donate, and so once we have you confirmed as a sponsor and you screenshot the fact that you've donated, you're in. And for that hour, you will get, this hour is brought to you by such and such, and we'll display your logos. You can send us in trailers, you can send us videos, anything like that, and we'll display it during the event. So if you want to get involved, please go to our website, which is the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast.co.uk, and we can get in contact. You can get in contact with us there, and we'll get you signed up. We're after 20. We get us 24, and if we get 24 sponsors for that thing, do the maths, people. That's £2,400 to start with. Then we're going to be doing a month-long auction. We have the donate button. We have the ability here to affect my local community with resources from all around the world, and that's what Pod Aid is all about. So
sounds brilliant.
It's an idea a little like, because last year I missed International Podcast Day, and I like to get involved with these things, and I thought, how can we do something with International Podcast Day? And I fired a message to the guys. I'm going to do a 24-hour podcast. That'd be great. But then I thought, let's do it and raise some money for charity. And when I think of Shrewsbury charities, there are loads of great great charities in Shrewsbury. Of course, I spoke to them on the show, but when the first company I think of is Lincoln Davis. They do great things. So
They do fantastic things.
Yeah, they're fantastic. So I'm very, very excited about Pod Aid. I can't. The logo looks amazing. The name, everything it stands for. Next year, I could be compared to Bob Geldof or the podcast world. You never know. We never know where this is going to go. But I appreciate your support, and if you wouldn't mind, on social media, I'm going to be asking for a lot of help, lots of likes, shares, and subscribes, which might be an eye roller, but when it comes to things like YouTube and Facebook, a follow or a subscribe absolutely means the world, because we're going to be launching a brand new YouTube, I believe, for this event only, and I think there's a minimum amount of subscribers you can have before you can stream for so long. So we're going to be doing a campaign of please subscribe to this YouTube, even though there's nothing going on it yet, so that we can do what we need to do. So just listen out for that, and we do appreciate your future support. Vince, you've been great to speak to, honestly. It's
been a pleasure. Thank you for coming in.
If there's anything we can help with in the future, come back on again. This is great. I love having reoccurring guests. It's a nice thing to go out there and make friends that we can keep speaking to. So
I will certainly take you up on that.
Right, this has been great. We've been done just under an hour and a half.
Blimey.
That's crazy, isn't it? I love podcasts like that where you can just hit record and just go, and there's no time. Right, we'll catch you guys next time, and thank you very, very much for listening. Peace out.